Welcome to Timeless Icon, where we bring you the most incredible stories of legendary figures who shaped martial arts history. If you love stories of true warriors and life-changing lessons, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our content. The setup. At a martial arts academy in Texas, an overconfident black belt made a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. He challenged Chuck Norris to a friendly sparring match, thinking it would be an easy win against an aging movie star. What happened next became legendary. "You think that's real fighting?" Marcus Bennett's voice boomed through the Warriors Path dojo as he slammed his training partner onto the mat with brutal force. The impact echoed through the entire facility, causing every person in the gym to freeze and turn their attention toward him. "In an actual street confrontation, you'd be done in seconds," he declared smugly. It was a typical Thursday evening, and the advanced training session was in full swing. Marcus, a third-degree black belt with an ego that matched his impressive collection of tournament trophies, was showing off once again. He towered over his defeated opponent, flexing and absorbing the attention from the younger practitioners who watched with a mixture of awe and intimidation. "Who wants to go next?" Marcus announced, scanning the training floor like a hunter searching for prey. "Anyone courageous enough to face a genuine fighter?" The unexpected visitor. That's exactly when the entrance door quietly swung open, and in walked Chuck Norris. He was simply dropping by to visit his longtime friend, Master Chen, the dojo's owner. Most students training toward the back of the facility didn't even register his arrival. But Marcus Bennett noticed everything that transpired in what he considered his domain. He viewed himself as the unofficial champion of the Warriors Path, and he didn't appreciate strangers interrupting his demonstrations. When Master Chen and the visitor embraced warmly like old companions, Marcus's curiosity was immediately piqued. If this truly was Chuck Norris, the action film icon, then this wasn't just some random visitor. Still, Marcus remained unimpressed. In his worldview, Hollywood celebrity status meant absolutely nothing on the training mat. "Chen, it's wonderful to see you," Chuck said with genuine warmth. "The facility looks incredible." "Chuck, I had no idea you were coming today," Master Chen responded with authentic excitement. "How much time has passed?" "Nearly 3 years." Marcus's attention sharpened at their familiar exchange. Master Chen's treatment of Chuck indicated a deep relationship, yet Marcus had never encountered him at the dojo before, and Marcus prided himself on knowing everyone within the local martial arts community. To him, Chuck was simply an aging film performer whose prime had long since faded. The challenge begins. The other practitioners had ceased there, training now detecting the mounting tension. They observed as Marcus strutted over to where Chuck and Master Chen were conversing. They recognized that look. Marcus was hunting for confrontation. "So," Marcus interrupted without waiting for an invitation into the discussion, "you're Chuck Norris, correct? The veteran Hollywood performer from those martial arts films decades ago?" Before Chuck could respond, Marcus continued in a condescending tone. "No disrespect intended, but cinema combat bears no resemblance to authentic martial arts." More students abandoned their drills to watch the unfolding situation. Master Chen sensed where this was heading and attempted to intervene. "Marcus, perhaps we should concentrate on our scheduled training today." But Marcus was just warming up. "Oh, I'm not attempting to be rude, Master Chen. I'm simply intrigued by the distinction between Hollywood choreography and genuine technique." "I mean, Mr. Norris, surely you recognize that movie fights differ completely from actual martial arts, correct?" Chuck's expression remained unchanged, though Master Chen knew him well enough to detect the subtle adjustment in his posture. It was nearly imperceptible, but it was there, like a predator that had just detected movement in tall grass. "Films are entertainment," Chuck stated calmly. but honestly, I'm just here to visit an old friend." Marcus smirked, crossing his arms. In his mind, that sounded like avoidance, like a washed-up performer trying to dodge exposure in front of legitimate martial artists. The students were all watching intently, and Marcus could feel the spotlight returning to him. If he could put this Hollywood celebrity in his place, his reputation at the dojo would become untouchable. The proposition. "Well, this presents the perfect opportunity," Marcus declared, a confident grin spreading across his face. "We can demonstrate to everyone the difference between authentic martial arts and Hollywood theatrics." "I appreciate the suggestion," Chuck replied diplomatically. "But those cinema techniques aren't really designed for sparring." Marcus grinned wider and gestured toward Chuck, ensuring every student saw where the attention was focused. "Come on, it would be educational for everyone," he pressed, his confidence escalating. "You demonstrate some of those movie techniques, and I'll show what genuine fighting actually involves." Chuck surveyed the room, taking in all the young faces watching him with anticipation. Some appeared excited by the prospect. Others seemed uncomfortable with Marcus's aggressive insistence. Master Chen was clearly attempting to determine how to defuse the situation. "See?" Marcus exclaimed, as if Chuck's silence had just validated his argument. "If you ask me, movie fighting is entirely fabricated choreography. But real martial arts, that's what I've devoted my entire existence to." He paused for effect before continuing, "Tell you what, how about we conduct a brief friendly demonstration? Just for educational purposes, naturally. Show these students what authentic technique looks like. What do you say, old-timer?" The challenge hung in the atmosphere like smoke. Chuck could have simply departed. He could have fabricated an excuse and left with Master Chen. Instead, he looked at the eager expressions of the students, then back at Marcus's cocky smirk. The decision. "You know what, Marcus?" Chuck said finally, his voice still friendly but carrying a new undertone that made everyone lean forward. "I think a demonstration is an excellent idea. If it's purely educational and for enjoyment, why not? Let's proceed." Master Chen's eyes widened slightly. He had witnessed that expression on Chuck's face before, many years ago during their competition days. It was the look of a hunter who had just decided to stop pretending to be harmless. "Really?" Marcus's face illuminated with excitement. "That's fantastic. Students, gather around. You're about to witness how a legitimate black belt handles himself against a Hollywood actor." As the students formed a circle around the mat, Chuck began stretching slowly and deliberately. His movements were fluid and controlled, like water flowing around obstacles. But there was something else present too, a precision that spoke of countless hours of dedicated practice, of muscle memory that ran deeper than most people could fathom. "Just to clarify," Chuck said as he continued his warm-up, "you asked me to spar purely for fun, correct?" "Absolutely," Marcus replied confidently, already bouncing on the balls of his feet. "Don't worry, I'll be careful not to injure you. We'll keep it light and educational." That's when something shifted in Chuck's demeanor. It was subtle, like the moment when a calm water surface suddenly shows ripples that hint at something powerful moving beneath. The students nearest to him actually took a small step backward without understanding why. "All right then," Chuck said, stepping onto the mat. "Just for fun." Before we continue with what happened next, if you're enjoying this story about Chuck Norris's legendary moment, make sure you're subscribed to Timeless Icon. We bring you the most incredible true stories about martial arts legends, Hollywood icons, and unforgettable moments in history. Hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss our next video. The sparring match begins. What transpired next would be discussed in that dojo for generations. Marcus assumed his fighting stance with all the confidence of someone who had dominated every sparring session for years. His guard was elevated, his feet were positioned perfectly, and his breathing was controlled. He appeared every inch the skilled martial artist he believed himself to be. Chuck, conversely, seemed barely engaged. He stood casually, his hands at his sides, looking more like someone waiting at a bus stop than preparing to spar. But Master Chen could perceive what the students couldn't. Chuck's weight was perfectly distributed. His center of gravity was precisely where it needed to be. And his eyes were tracking every microscopic movement Marcus made. "Ready when you are, Mr. Norris," Marcus announced, adding a little bounce to his stance to display his flexibility. "I'm ready," Chuck replied simply. Marcus initiated with what he considered his finest technique, a lightning-fast roundhouse kick aimed at Chuck's midsection. It was the same kick that had secured him dozens of tournament victories and incapacitated countless sparring partners, the type of kick most people couldn't even detect coming, much less defend against. Chuck moved precisely 1 inch to the left. Marcus's kick sailed harmlessly past its intended target, and suddenly he found himself off balance and vulnerable. Before he could recover, Chuck was somehow positioned directly beside him, close enough to speak quietly. "Excellent technique," Chuck said softly, his voice so calm it was almost conversational. "However, you dropped your right shoulder approximately half a second before executing it. That's equivalent to telegraphing your attack." The turning point. Marcus stumbled backward, his face flushed with embarrassment and confusion. How had Chuck moved so minimally, yet completely avoided his signature kick? And how had he closed the distance so rapidly? "Lucky observation," Marcus muttered, shaking his head to clear it. "Let me attempt that again." This time he launched a combination: jab, cross, roundhouse kick. It was his trademark sequence, the one that had earned him his black belt and the respect of his peers. 3 strikes thrown in rapid succession with flawless form and timing. Chuck avoided all 3 without appearing to move at all. It was like watching someone dodge raindrops in a light shower. Every punch and kick missed by the smallest possible margin, as if Chuck possessed some kind of internal radar that informed him exactly where each attack was directed before Marcus even initiated it. That's impossible," Marcus stammered, perspiration already beginning to form on his forehead. "What's impossible?" Chuck asked with genuine curiosity, as if he truly didn't comprehend what was confusing about the situation. The students observing were beginning to whisper among themselves. They had never witnessed anyone make Marcus appear clumsy before. Some were starting to retrieve their phones, sensing that something extraordinary was occurring. Marcus attempted a different approach. Instead of elaborate kicks and combinations, he went for simple, direct attacks. A straight punch aimed directly at Chuck's chest. At close range, this punch should have been impossible to avoid. Chuck wasn't there when the attack arrived. He had somehow relocated to Marcus's left side, and now he was standing with his hands still casually at his sides, appearing as if he had never moved at all. The breakdown. "Marcus," Master Chen called out, his voice carrying a warning that the younger man was too frustrated to hear. "Perhaps we should conclude here." "No," Marcus snapped, his composure finally fracturing. "I've been training for over a decade. I'm not going to be made to appear foolish by some actor." That's when Chuck's expression transformed for the first time since the sparring began. The friendly demeanor faded, replaced by something colder and infinitely more formidable. "Some actor," Chuck repeated quietly. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Even the students who didn't know Chuck's complete background could sense that something fundamental had shifted. The atmosphere wasn't playful anymore. Marcus realized he had made a critical error, but his pride wouldn't allow him to retreat now. "I mean, I respect what you've accomplished in films, but this is genuine martial arts. This is what I've dedicated my existence to." Chuck nodded slowly, as if seriously considering Marcus's words. "You're correct. You asked me to spar purely for enjoyment, and I haven't been taking this seriously. Allow me to correct that." The 15 seconds That changed everything. What occurred next took exactly 15 seconds. Chuck moved. It wasn't a dramatic leap or a flashy technique. It was simply movement so rapid and precise that most of the students couldn't follow it with their eyes. One moment, he was standing casually 3 feet away from Marcus. The next moment, Marcus was on his back on the mat, staring at the ceiling with an expression of complete shock. There had been no visible impact, no violent throw, no obvious technique that anyone could identify. Marcus had simply transitioned from standing upright to lying on his back, as if gravity had suddenly decided to function sideways. The silence in the dojo was absolute. "How?" Marcus whispered, still flat on his back. "What did you do?" Chuck reached down and offered his hand to help Marcus up. "I used a technique called stop hitting yourself. It's quite advanced." As Marcus slowly regained his feet, Chuck turned to address the stunned students. "The lesson. What you just witnessed was the result of approximately 40 years of dedicated training. Not movie training, not Hollywood choreography. 40 years of studying with the finest martial artists globally, competing at the highest levels, and learning that genuine skill doesn't need to be flashy to be effective." One brave student raised her hand. "Mr. Norris, are you actually a legitimate martial artist?" Chuck smiled warmly. "I began training at 18 in South Korea with the Air Force. Since then, I've studied multiple disciplines, earned several black belts, and had the opportunity to compete at elite levels. Everything else simply followed with time." The students' jaws dropped collectively. But the movies? "The movies came later," Chuck explained patiently. "Much later, I was winning world championships in karate before most film directors were even interested in martial arts. The acting was something I attempted because a friend suggested it. The fighting came first." Marcus stood there, his face burning with humiliation, as the full magnitude of his mistake became clear. He had challenged one of the greatest martial artists of all time, thinking he was simply targeting an aging celebrity. But instead of the victory he expected, he felt nothing but profound regret. The apology and wisdom. "Mr. Norris," Marcus said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper, "I owe you a tremendous apology. I completely underestimated you." Chuck's expression softened immediately. "Marcus, you don't need to apologize, but you might want to reflect on why you felt the need to challenge someone in the first place. Authentic martial arts isn't about proving superiority over others. It's about improving yourself, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually." The lesson struck him harder than any physical technique could have. Marcus realized that his entire approach to martial arts had been fundamentally flawed. He had been focused on displaying dominance and defeating others instead of personal growth. Master Chen stepped forward, his expression showing both pride in his old friend and concern for his student. "Chuck, thank you for handling that with such grace. Marcus, I believe you learned more in the last few minutes than in your last several years of training." But Chuck wasn't finished yet. He looked around at all the students, ensuring he had everyone's complete attention. "Here's the most important thing I want you all to understand," he said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had earned the right to be heard. "Real strength isn't about defeating other people. It's about controlling yourself. The most dangerous person in any room isn't the one seeking a fight. It's the one who doesn't need to prove anything." He walked over to Marcus and continued, "You're clearly a skilled martial artist, Marcus, and your dedication is obvious. But skill without wisdom is merely organized violence, and wisdom begins with humility." Marcus, finally comprehending the profound lesson he had been taught, slowly bowed to Chuck, not out of formality, but as a genuine sign of respect and gratitude. Final thoughts. This story is a perfect example of why legends like Chuck Norris remain timeless icons in martial arts history. His combination of incredible skill, wisdom, and humility is what separates true masters from those who simply chase glory. If you enjoyed this story, you absolutely need to subscribe to Timeless Icon right now. We bring you the most incredible true stories about legendary figures who changed history. Don't miss our next video. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. And here's a question for you. Have you ever been humbled after underestimating someone? Or witnessed a moment where someone learned an unforgettable lesson about respect? Share your story in the comments below. We read every single one. Thanks for watching Timeless Icon. Remember, true strength comes from within, and real warriors never need to prove themselves. We'll see you in the next video. Subscribe to Timeless Icon for more incredible stories about legendary martial artists, Hollywood icons, and unforgettable moments in history.